the actual content. I just want us to start with the mentee. We want to start with the mentee. But again, just to remind you, we run this monthly, once a month, 45 minutes, but we do have long programs, sustainable programs that really help in shifting behavior and developing new attitudes. So we do have a Leadership for Women cohort that runs for 10 weeks. And we currently have a cohort that is finishing in the next 4 weeks. Our next cohort starts in January. We have a cohort for effective personal productivity for female leaders that is starting 6th of November. So we will send you information regarding that. So while we're sharing this information, we realize that there's a need for a sustainable process, a transformational process that really helps women to recover their energy, to recover their time, but also to rebuild their identity, how they want to be, known, how they want to show up. So I'm going to share a mentee now to get us started into the conversation. So if you're just joining us, use the chat box to let us know where you're joining us from. Thank you. We saw that we've got Malawi, Durban, Cape Town, Joburg, Pretoria. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're just joining us, let us know where you're joining us from. I'm just sharing my screen for the mentee. Please, let's get ready to share our thoughts. I'm just going to share my screen in a bit. Okay. Can anyone confirm that you guys can see my screen? Can you guys see the Ment page? Mentee, the Mentimeter page? Tony, could you please confirm if you can see
Mavis, I can see it. I think maybe just let everyone know how to get into the Mentee page, please.
All right, so I'll explain it. So please, on your smartphone, go on to www.mentee.com. And Mentee is MENTI.com. And then it will request for a code. The code is 13519340. So mentee.com, MENTI.com. And the code there is 13519340. So we're starting with a mentee. And the first question on there is, what is the one word that describes your energy right now? What is the one word that describes your energy right now? Okay, mentee.com. It's also drained. Okay, all right. What is the one word that describes your energy level right now? Okay, mentee.com, grateful, mellow. Okay, what is the one word that describes your energy right now? What is the one word that describes your energy right now? Okay. Okay, mellow. See, mellow is bolding. What is the one word that describing your energy right now? Mediocre.
Mavis, just give us the code again. I want to just put it in the chat, please.
It's 13519340.
Thanks.
Okay, 1351, depressed. Sure, thankful. Okay, what is the one word that describes your energy right now? What is the one word that describes your energy right now? Okay, grateful. Okay, happy. Lost in translation. Thankful. Okay. What is the one word that describing your energy level right now? Low. Okay. What is your energy? What is the one word describing your energy right now? Tired. Okay. Depleted. Okay. I like that grateful is bolded. I like that grateful is bolded. Okay. All right. So thank you. We're going to go to the next question. We're going to go to the next question. Okay. All right. Which of the symptoms have you experienced in the last 30 days? Which of these symptoms have you experienced in the last 30 days? Okay. Which of these symptoms have you experienced in the last 30 days? Have you experienced any of these? Okay, great. None. Guilt about underperforming at home. Okay. Constant exhaustion even after rest. Emotional fatigue or loss of motivation. Okay. Which of these have you experienced in the last 30 days? This September, which has been your dominant experience from some of these? Okay. All right. All right, we're going to go to the next question. We're going to go to the next question for the sake of time. Okay. Rank what drains you the most of your energy right now. Rank what drains the most of your energy right now. Rank what drains the most of your energy right now. What drains the most of your energy right now? Okay. What drains the most of your energy right now? Okay. What drains the most of your energy right now? Okay. Mm. Okay, all right, we're going to keep moving for the sake of time. When was the last time you felt fully in control of your time and decisions? When was the last time you felt fully in control of your time and your decisions? Last month, this year, 6 months ago, 1 year, never, 2 years ago, 2023. Okay, when was the last time you long ago, a year ago? Okay, never. April, can't remember, I can't recall. Okay, all right. When was the last time you felt fully in charge of your life, your time and your decisions? When was the last time you really felt in charge of your time and your decisions? Okay. Since July when I resigned. Oh, yeah, okay, that's interesting. Okay, all right. Okay, when was the last time you felt fully in charge of your time and your decisions? When was the last time you felt fully, don't remember, cannot remember, really, now? Okay, good, good. Okay, all right, let's move on to the next one. Let's move on to the next one. When you're off, when you're not working, what's the number one thing on your mind? What's the number one thing on your mind when you're not working? What's the number one thing on your mind when you're not working? Yoga, kids. What's the number one work? Okay, family. Work I haven't done. Marriage, exercising, family. Okay, rest, work. Okay. What's the number one thing on your mind when you're not working during your off hours, studying? Okay. Housework, trying to switch off. Family circle, unfinished work, the support team needs. Okay. Okay, interesting. Thanks, guys. We keep moving. Where do you feel you are falling short the most? Where do you feel you're falling short the most? Where do you feel you're falling short the most? Okay. Look at that. I'm not showing up for myself. Look at that. Okay. Look at that. Look at that. Okay. Okay. All right, guys, we keep moving. We keep moving. If you had 5 hours a week freed up, what would you use it for? If you had 5 hours freed up for you, what would you use it for? Okay, you'd sleep for 5 hours more, reading. If you had 5 hours sleep, okay, reading, learning a new skill, travel. If you had 5 hours freed up, what would you do? Photography, okay, walks on the beach, okay, getting fit. Okay, see, sleeping and reading are bolded. Sleep and reading are bolded. Okay, getting fit, art, creativity, research, watch TV, to work on my goals. Okay, relaxing. All right, guys, we keep going. What kind of support would help you the most right now? What kind of support would help you the most right now, given that these below? What kind of support would help you the most right now? What kind of support would help you the most right now? Okay. Mental space to think, more rest, less guilty, a system to reclaim time, delegation of support. Okay, tactical help prioritizing. I'm not sure I'm too deep in it. Okay, I'm not sure I'm too deep in it. Okay, mental space to think. Okay. All right. What's the one small shift you could make this week to protect your energy? What is the one small shift you could make this week to protect your energy? Yeah, considering how you responded to all the questions. Considering how you responded to all the questions, what is the one shift? Don't know, say no, make time for self. Okay, weekly plan. What is the one shift? You could go on a long walk, solitude and value time, pray, stop complaining, stop procrastinating, focus on me. Okay. I like the bolded, say no. I like the bolded, say no. Okay. All right, thank you for this. So on this small shift, write it down as a goal, right? Write it down as a goal, right? Today I am going to, or this week I will walk 2 times. Write it as a goal and schedule it on your planner. Write it as a goal and schedule it on your time, right? This one small shift, write it out as a goal and write it, block it up on your time. Block it up on your time. All right, we're going to get into what we're sharing today. Thank you so much for your input. Thank you for your input. I'm just going to share now my presentation. Thank you for your input there. You can see where we all are. You can see what our challenges are. You can see, some of the small shifts that we need to make so that we can preserve our own energy, time, our legacy, and our identity, right? So this is not just about time, but it's about energy. It's about identity. It's also about legacy. What legacy do you want to leave behind? So if you continue the way you're feeling right now, will you be able to be remembered that way? Or are you creating, the life as you would want it to, life as you would want remembered, life as you would want yourself to be remembered? Okay, so I'm just sharing my screen again. Give me a moment. Okay. All right, so how do we break out the burnout cycle? How do we break the burnout cycle and create sustainable leadership strategies for women? Sustainability is important. If you reflect on how you answered the questions earlier on, the next question will probably be, if you carry on the way you are right now, how sustainable is it? How sustainable is it? Or how far can you go? How far can you go? So I think this is a hidden crisis for many women. I said earlier on, we did a survey where 50% of women leaders indicated that they're feeling drained. They are functioning, but they're really feeling drained. And you can see also from the responses that, yes, you could see that sort of tiredness or fatigue or raw overload is actually in this particular room for some people, right? Maybe the greater number of people for that matter. So we know that as women, we face this, unprecedented challenge of managing executive responsibilities while juggling personal commitments, family duties, and societal expectations. And what this does is it creates a burden perfect for a burnout, right? Because you're juggling a lot of things. You're feeling guilty about a lot of things. You're making decisions about many things. So as a result, you are using emotional, physical, and also mental energy a lot more than maybe your male counterparts, right? Because you're juggling all these things. So research shows that 75% of women in leadership positions report feeling overwhelmed by raw overload, yet many suffer in silence because if we voice out, we feel that it will be a reflection of our competence, right? So we don't speak. A lot of people really just try and hide it well, cover it up, put on the makeup, and really just show up like you're not struggling. And that's because we fear that if we share that we are struggling, we fear that, you know, it's a reflection of our competence, but also we fear that it comes across as if we are unable to handle it all, right? And there's an expectation or a belief that we're supposed to handle it all without showing any weakness. We're supposed to handle it all without showing any weakness. But the cost is not just personal, right? The cost is not just, as we mentioned earlier on, the energy leak, the power leak. You can't influence if you're tired, right? So there's a leadership leak there, but there's also an identity erosion, as we mentioned earlier on, that, you know, over time, you don't know what your dreams are. You don't know what your goals are because you have no capacity, no energy for reflection to actually be able to piece out together a philosophy of life and how you want to be able to live your own life, okay? So what we then find out is you then end up with, you know, people who are burning out, okay? But also not just burnout as the cost, but also a lack of innovation. There's no way you can innovate and become creative if you're constantly depleted. So, you know, you're depleted from making all the decisions. It reduces the decision quality, and it also reduces the competitive advantage of the business, right? So why do we need to support women leaders? We need to support women leaders because if they are burning out, if they are overwhelmed, and they're not saying it because the system or the culture has shaped us in such a way we've been conditioned to say we have to be able to handle it all. So we don't complain, we keep going, but the cost is not just, as mentioned, personal, it's also organizational. You're not able to be innovative. You're not able to make the quality of decisions is decreases, and you are not able to be innovative. So what are some of the signs? And I think we've already mentioned it in our mentee. Some of the signs, what are some of the signs? How do you recognize warning signs of burnout? Constant exhaustion, right? I think one of the questions there, we asked the question to say, when you have rested, do you continue to feel tired? So if you continue to feel exhausted, even after rest, you feel drained. Sleep doesn't restore your energy anymore. You wake up already tired. This is a signal of burnout, okay? Strategic focus struggles. So difficult concentrating on high value, high energy demanding activities, okay? You're not busy, you're busy, but not productive on what matters the most. So you're busy, but not productive. Often you get feedback that says you're not strategic, you're operational. So you get feedback, whether in performance feedback or you're speaking to your leader or your manager, they say you're busy, you're operational, but you're not strategic, right? It's a sign that you can no longer focus on high value work, right? You focus on the low value work, based on the energy levels you have. Emotional fatigue, reduced motivation and enthusiasm for work you once loved. So you once loved your role, you once loved what you do, but right now it's just really getting by. It's just really getting by. So everything feels harder than it should. Everything feels like a struggle. Everything feels like you need effort to do it, okay? So these are signs of burnout. I just want to pause and say, have you experienced any of these? Yeah? Have you experienced any of these that I've mentioned? Have you experienced any of these? If you're in the room, you're in the room. Have you experienced, Angela says yes. Have you experienced any of these? Jenny says yes. Sue says yes. Okay, so yeah. So this is real. We're talking about something that's happening to us. We're not really just imagining it. We're not imagining it, okay? So what happens then when you are in that constant mode of tiredness? Marissa says yes, okay? We then end up getting stuck in what we call reactive leadership. Reactive leadership. So reactivity versus intentional leadership, you find yourself constantly putting out fires instead of being proactively leading. So you're not able to plan, you're not able to, coach, you're not able to, have these conversations, have the boundaries, put the boundaries in place. All of those things are proactive things, right? Have conversations that protect your time, right? So decision-making becomes rushed. You react emotionally to challenges that rather than responding strategically. I was speaking to one of the executives in one of the companies who was actually enrolling for Leadership for Women coaching. And she says, I've never been one person to take anything personal. But lately, anything that comes my way is very, very personal. And that's how I've noticed that I actually need an intervention now, because everything is now hitting as personal. And that's reactivity, right? When you're constantly drained, you're in the fight or flight, you're in the survival mode, most things come across as threatening. even a criticism that would have been able to help you to improve or get better becomes a threat, right? What we say, when you are threatened, you are threatening. When you're constantly reactive, constantly exhausted, you are threatened from within because your system is not wired to be constantly tired. It's wired to recover and continue, recover and continue. So if you're constantly in the survival mode, it means you're constantly in a threatened mode. When you're constantly in a threatened mode, remember what I said, when you're threatened, you're threatening. And so as a result, anything that anyone says that comes your way, you're already feeling threatened. It just heightens the feeling that's already internal that you already are experiencing. And then you also see the guilty trap, persistent feelings that you're not meeting standards at home or at work. This guilt creates a vicious cycle. The more you try to compensate, the more overwhelmed you become. So you try and compensate, let me go and cook today, but the more tired you get because you're not recovering, right? You're not recovering. Let me take my kids out today. The more you try and do it from a compensatory place, right? Not a proactive, but a compensatory place, the more tired you get, the more tired you get. Okay. And the guilt also continues to drain energy. The guilty also continues to drain energy. But what is the science behind sustainable leadership? Neuroscience research shows that, reveals that our brains are not designed. Yeah, our brains aren't designed for constant multitasking and decision-making without recovery. You are not designed to be constantly making decisions without recovering. So your prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for executive function, becomes depleted when overused, leading to poor judgment and emotional reactivity. So we get depleted if all we are making decisions. We have heard of what, we've heard of decision fatigue, right? If you're constantly making decisions, your prefrontal cortex gets overused and depleted. And what then happens? You become emotionally reactive and you start to make poor decisions, poor choices, right? Poor decisions. You know this is not good for you, but you take it. You want to sort of numb yourself, or you want to try and soothe yourself. You start doing the things that ideally, if you had energy for self-regulation, you would not actually do them. If you had energy for self-regulation, very critical to say, self-regulation demands energy. Self-regulation, the ability to manage yourself, the ability to regulate yourself demands energy. When your energy is low, you cannot regulate yourself. So you are constantly in reactivity, doing sometimes things that are not even saving you. Okay. So studies show that leaders who implement strategic recovery practices maintain 23% higher performance levels and report 40% greater job satisfaction. Okay. So leaders who are able to implement strategic recovery practices, they maintain 23% higher performance levels and report 40% greater job satisfaction. So the key isn't working less, it's working smarter with intentional systems, right? Making recovery as part of the performance cycle, right? Not in spite of, but it is part of the performance cycle. So you are deliberate about making sure that recovery is part of the performance cycle. Okay, all right. So what are the 4 pillars of burnout recovery? What are the things that you can do? What sort of things you can put in place and take a systematic approach to actually recover or build a system for recovery, right? So there's evidence-based strategies that work together to restore your energy, focus, and leadership effectiveness, okay? So if you work these together, you can actually restore your energy, your focus, and your leadership effectiveness. The first one is strategic prioritization, okay? So to eliminate decision fatigue by creating clear systems for what gets your attention and energy. So you can decide which of these things are high payoff activities, right? High payoff activities, if you really look at the amount of money you get paid per hour, right? So for example, you get paid 500 rands per hour, right? So you want now to look at your critical task or the task that you do daily and say which of these tasks is a 500 value per hour task, right? Which of these tasks is a 500 rand per hour task? So you're prioritizing based on, eliminating low payoff activities, if you can. Which of these activities demand your attention? But you can also use a to-do list, right? What does a to-do list for the day? Or if you're able to categorize your, your tasks for the day by highlighting this is an important task for the day. This is an imperative task for the day. Okay, this is an important one. So you are able to say, I'm focusing only on the imperative at the moment. Then I'll focus on the important task. Okay, then I'll focus on the low payoff activities if I still have to do that. So you want to look at your daily to do, the things that you do every day. Which are some of those things you could eliminate that you don't actually need to worry about? I'll give you an example, right? So one of the things that I've made sure is I don't want to worry about what bread is going to be bought tomorrow. You know, it's a small thing, but I just made sure that my helper is equipped to have a card that she can go and buy bread and make sure that whatever is needed is done, right? So I've eliminated not worrying, not thinking about bread or buying bread, just as an example, okay? When also have learned to delegate, so I've eliminated worrying about low payoff tasks by delegating to a colleague that can work on those low payoff tasks for the value of their time to the business, for the value of their time to the business. So I no longer have to really worry about that. I can do an oversight, but I'm not constantly focusing and paying my energy onto that. So then I can focus on just the things that are strategic and eliminate things that are, that I don't, so things that, drain your decision-making system, and you actually don't have to deal with them. Or you can find someone else to deal with them who gets paid less for their time, or so your support structure, you can also delegate it to your support structure. Okay, all right. And then the boundary architecture. So how do you build a sustainable structure that protects your time, mental space without compromising relationships? Okay. How do you build a system in place, a sustainable structure? One of the things that I learned early on in life is I used to be that person who's available. Like, call me in the middle of the night, I'm available. There's a fire somewhere, I'm available. And then I realized, I can't. I needed to protect my time and my energy. In fact, I came up with this one thing that I said, I don't work as a first responder. Meaning if there's anything happening at night, probably the police and the ambulance need to get there first, not me. That's me trying to protect my energy, trying to build a boundary, because people would call anytime when there's a crisis, people are calling, and I said, no, I'm not a first responder, right? So when I put my phone on silent and go to sleep around 8, 9, I wake up in the morning. Right? So that's one boundary I've had to put in place to say my sleep is very important. My 7 to 8 hours of sleep is non-negotiable. That's a non-negotiable. Now, everybody that knows me know they don't look for me, after 9 o'clock, 9 p.m. Everybody that knows me. So it's now something that everybody around me knows, right? To say, oh, this one is sleeping early, right? Even if we went out to a party, people are like, this one sleeps early. Right? So that's an example of a boundary. So which area of your life do you need to put a boundary in place so that you can recover energy and you can recover also time? You can also recover time, right? So I also used to be that mom that wants to do that school run, and I realized that's probably not going to work in terms of, my time and my energy. So I also made peace, and that's me. You don't have to do what I do, but you can come up with your own sort of boundary architecture that says these are the no-nos, right? This is the time that I protect for myself. Okay, so I then also delegated, transporting of the kids, and I drop in the morning, but when I can, and it's not a must, when I can, and then I have transport that picks them up in the afternoon. Okay, in fact, my 18-year-old drives himself and back to school, so I don't even have to worry about him. But that was for me almost like an energy saving, time saving, boundary, but also then creating time to be available when you can. But it doesn't have to be, all the time. It becomes something that you are intentionally deciding, not out of I have to do this. Okay. Then energy management, replace time with energy management, right? So a lot of the times we think we need to manage time, but what we need to manage is our energy levels. If you don't have energy, no matter how much further or more time you're given, it's probably not going to help you that much. Okay, because you start to take longer to get tasks done when your energy is low. So the key is managing your energy. How do you make sure that you manage your energy? But even when you are performing tasks, you are picking time where if you're dealing with a difficult task, you make sure that you do it when you have most of the energy. I know that I struggle with report writing. So if I have a report to write, I will do it very early in the morning, because then my energy is at peak and then I'm able to complete it. If I leave report writing for the end of the day, trust me, to be procrastinated. Okay, so identify tasks that really needs the most of your energy and schedule them when your energy is high, but also be managing your energy rather than your time. How do you manage your time? What are your energy rejuvenation activities? What do you do to rejuvenate? What do you do to fill up? What do you do to recharge? Manage your energy levels. Constantly be managing your energy and tell yourself, my energy is low. How do I boost my energy? If your energy is low, what is your go-to? Coffee and energy drinks are not sustainable energy boosters. Yeah, coffee and what is it called? Energy drinks. They are not sustainable energy boosters. Okay, so we can go to as many coffee cups we want throughout the day, or many energy drinks as we want throughout the day. It gives you a temporary high and it drops you terribly, right? Gives you a temporary high and drops you. So you need a sustainable energy management system. Sleep is one, exercise, walking, yoga, meditation, anything that gets you out of your routine of working. What are you doing to take care of yourself so that you can boost and recharge your energy rather than constantly be, depleted, rather than be constantly depleted. And then create a support system. Create a support system, okay? So both professionally and personal, you need to build a support network to amplify, your leadership or your effectiveness, to amplify your leadership or your effectiveness. So who is your support structure? Who do you have personal at home? Yeah. What is your network for support at home? What is your network of support at work? Okay. So you want to be able to, who is the person you can rely on to be able to either delegate, maybe you need to coach and empower somebody, or you want to be able to, so yeah, home and away, who do you delegate to? Home and away, who do you delegate to? Home and away, when you need time to recover, who can you tell or ask to maybe look after kids if you've got kids, for example? Okay, so build that professional and personal support network so that you can recover. You can recover. Okay, so those are the 4 pillars that we can use to try and recover and build our own energy, to try and build our own energy. Okay, and then in terms of strategic prioritization, we use what we call the 3-2-1 framework. Okay. So what are the 3 strategic priorities? Identify 3 outcomes that if achieved will make the biggest impact for you, okay? And then 2 energy drains to eliminate. What are your 2 energy drains? So choose 2 activities, commitments, or habits that consume energy. They must go. They must go, okay? Non-negotiable boundary. Establish 1 firm boundary that protects your peak performance. Defend it consistently. Defend it consistently. Identify 3 strategic priorities, 2 energy drains, non-negotiable boundary, and really stick to that, create habits around that, okay? So building a boundary architecture, time boundaries. So you might want to create focus time and say in the morning between 8 and 9, I'm focusing on my high value work. People are not supposed to disturb you. Do you have focus time, okay? Create strategic time or focus time on your calendar for strategic work. Communication boundaries. When do you respond to emails? When do people come to you? So you want to be able to create that as well. Decision boundaries. Define which decisions require input and which one can be delegated. We don't need to be making all the decisions. We don't need to be making all the decisions, okay? So in terms of energy management, aligning work with your natural rhythm, okay? For most people, morning is peak energy. So reserve strategic thinking, complex decisions, and creative work for this time. So you can block an hour or 2, okay? And then midday, schedule meetings, collaborative work, relationship building activities where your interpersonal energy is the highest. Okay, so social energy is high when, around midday. It might be different for different people. Maintenance energy, handle routine tasks, email processing, and administrative work afternoon. And then in the evening, what are you doing? Transition deliberately from work to personal life. Transition deliberately so. Do transition deliberately so. Okay, all right. So with that, you can also, how do you put a plan of action in place? So you can have all the knowledge. I don't think I've shared anything that you haven't heard before. But if we actually did an analysis, we might find that we know, but we don't do. We know, but we don't do. So the gap is in application, okay? So you want to be able to set at least a goal from the session that you're going to put into place, practice, take action, right? Don't make too many goals. 1, and work towards it. You may have many ideas you want to pursue, but you can write the ideas and say, for this week, I'm focusing on this one, okay? And this will only help you if it becomes an attitude and it becomes a habit, not a choice. Yeah, it becomes a habit, not a choice. So assessment and awareness, track your energy patterns for a week, note where you feel most alert, creative, focused, identify your top 3 energy drains. Week 2, strategic prioritization, implement the 3-2-1 framework and communicate your priorities and delegate or eliminate lower value activities. Week 3, boundary implementation, establish your non-negotiable boundary, practice the boundary setting script with trusted colleagues from wider implementation. Remember this, when you start implementing a boundary, people who have been benefiting from you not having a boundary are not going to take it lying down. You will find resistance. There will be resistance to change. So if you're facing resistance, it doesn't mean that what you're doing is not right, right? So this is where, again, you need to build your stamina, your own resilience to be able to continue until people respect that boundary, okay? Energy optimization, redesign your schedule to align strategic work with peak performance and build daily transition rituals. Make sure that you can transition. Tell yourself, work finishes at 6, finishes at 5, and shut off the computer. Open it up in the morning. I'm privileged to shut off my laptop on Friday today, and I'll see it on Monday. So weekend, I don't touch my laptop. It started off feeling like it can't be done. It's impossible. But right now, it's actually very possible, right? I've found that nobody has died. There hasn't been a crisis that has demanded that I, have my laptop. Everybody has been okay. If somebody says to me this time, almost at the end of the day, can I have this? And I just really respectfully say, can I give it to you on Monday morning? Or can I give it to you on Monday afternoon? So I'm negotiating my own boundaries. Okay, so with that, we're going to end our session today. I'm going to pause for questions. But also, what do you take away from this? Was this useful? What do you take away? What resonated? Questions you may have. Okay, what resonated? Questions you may have. What if colleagues don't respect boundaries? Yes, remember what I said, people who have been benefiting from you not having a boundary are not just going to take it immediately. So it's a practice. Yeah, remember, ideas are accepted after the 6th time they are presented. Yeah, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times they are presented, right? So it is a normal psychological reaction that people will resist change. So you don't give up on reminding them. This is important, right? This is critical. And it's important for me because of A, B, C, D, right? So keep on sharing the boundary. Okay. Osila, yes, we can share the presentation. Okay. First responder. She was a first protect energy. Someone once said to me, boundaries are not for others. Are for you to follow. You need to stay strong to the boundaries you create. Exactly. That's true, Delphina. So if you are not following your own boundaries, chances are people will not respect the boundaries put in place. Okay, so you have to stick to your own boundary as well, so that other people can begin to respect that particular boundary. Okay, all right. Any other questions? What do you take away? What resonated? Okay. Remember, this is not just a time issue. It's an energy issue. It's an identity issue. Your identity gets eroded because you have no time to get to things that really matter the most about you, your dreams, your goals. As female leaders, we put that at the back burner and we do everything for everyone else. And then before we know it, we don't even know what our dreams are. Constantly depleted. It's about your identity and the legacy and your leadership effectiveness. You're unlikely to influence if you're drained, right? You're unlikely to influence when you're drained. So very important is us as female leaders to say, we need to guard our energy, because while navigating the system that sometimes is working against us, you need to guard your energy, because when you are tired, you cannot influence. When you're tired, you are not likely to be able to influence. And then again, remember, you're also dealing with the stereotypes. So it's almost like affirming the stereotypes. The moment you start being emotional or reacting emotionally because you're tired, they say, oh, there we go again, right? So we need to actually protect our own energy. Okay. I'm also top priority and should allocate time to my own off time, as this must be a priority as well. Can I please have your email address? Noktula will drop my email address here. So again, ladies, remember we've got a sustainable program, Leadership for Women, and the effective productivity for women leaders, which create habits over time. So this information, chances are you've known and you've heard the things that you need to work on, but chances are you've struggled to actually weave it in on your own, right? You've struggled to create the right habits, develop the right attitudes to create a sustainable behavior change. And that's why we take, our women leaders through a process, through a transformational process and inside out work that really changes, the behaviors to be able to create, energy, sustainable energy behaviors or habits, and then be able to develop the attitudes that are required to to manage your time and build the legacy you want. What if you're operating in a business always on culture, needing you to be available and respond when needed, albeit 21 at night? So again, it's conversation and putting that boundary in place, Jolene.
Mavis Bontley has an interesting question, and maybe we can make this the last. Sometimes building boundaries is interpreted as not being a team player or being difficult. How do we navigate that?
Okay, so boundaries don't replace performance or getting things done. So as long as I am able to deliver on the things and able to proactively communicate when I can deliver certain things, how long they'll take, then you still need to be able to put the boundary in place. The boundary can only be seen as a threat if you are not delivering, right? So let's not use boundaries as a way of not delivering work. I've delivered my work, I deliver my work, and when you save energy, you are likely to achieve your goals and your tasks anyway on time, right? Okay, all right.
Mavis, thank you so much. And that was really, as the only male viewer here, I got a lot of value from that myself. People, thank you so much for your time and attention. We will be writing to you shortly with details of the recording, as well as any follow-up interactions that you may want to have with Mavis. We'd love you to come on the journey with us. And so enjoy the weekend. Stick to the boundaries that you put up for the weekend. And we look forward to crossing paths with you. Thanks, Mavis. And I'm going to
Thanks, Tony. Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend. Take care. Bye.